Today's show is sponsored by libertarian conspiratorial fantasy author Jack Casey. Whether you're looking for a 3-book fantasy sci-fi epic of love, death, and dystopian civil war like the Royal Green series, or just looking for a quick, dark, comedic cultural commentary tale about a transsexual slayer of COVID regime vampires, like his latest book, WVW, Jack Casey Books will keep you adequately entertained and pondering the universe to your weird little heart's content. He's the Ayn Rand meets Stephanie Meyer meets somebody who actually writes entertaining books with his own unique little downer-esque flair. Find out more about Jack Casey Books at the aptly named jackcaseybooks.com. Once again, that is jackcaseybooks.com. Have you guys heard of Matt Miller? He's not only the guy who paints those amazing portraits of all your favorite heroes in the liberty movement and in pop culture, but he's also now an official sponsor of this show. From Murray Rothbard to Ron Paul, Dr. Robert Malone to Darth Maul, Matt Miller's Liberty Portraits has something fun for everyone to spice up your home or office and showcase your heroes. Go check out his incredible work at libertyportraits.com. Grab a print to impress your friends, hire him for a custom portrait, or bring him out to a festival to capture your event in real life in a beautiful and unique way. To find out more, just head over to libertyportraits.com. Once again, that is libertyportraits.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the least comfortable show on the web. I am back from a long weekend, a long trip up to the beautiful state of New Hampshire. I'm back in the studio, I'm back home, I'm back on the mic, and we're gonna do this. Even if my internet doesn't want to work, we're gonna do this. I'm thinking about moving to Ukraine. I think you know where I'm going with this. Ukraine has better internet, I hear, than this little town in Cornfield, Illinois. Yeah, thinking about moving out there. Sure, their people don't have it great, but they do have good internet, so maybe I'll just set up a studio there. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, if you're new here, welcome to the show. This is a place where we talk about all the uncomfortable topics like conspiracies, politics, religion, and we're going to do all that here in just a moment. But before we do, let's roll this intro, give people some time to get in here, and let's get weird.
All I ask is, if we have to give these bastards our lives, we give them hell before we do!
The tragedy of our day is the climate of fear in which we live.
Talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing.
I would ask the congressman to withdraw that comment and tell us that he didn't really mean that.
I don't know what I said!
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
The Bible commands that certain people be put to death.
Thieves or possesses weapons of mass destruction. 9/11 attacks were carried out by Al-Qaeda.
Handle the truth! I remember that with that smoke! We are still here!
We have to say yes to social justice.
No. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
It's a big club, my friends, and you're not in it. Hey guys, like I said, I just got back from the Liberty Forum of New Hampshire, the Free State Project, and all that fun stuff. That was my weekend, as I talked about on Monday's episode. If you notice, I've got like this big bump right here. It's not a giant zit. If you could see closely, it's actually where I bashed my head on the underside of a bridge. Those bridges really sneak up on you in New Hampshire. Now, we were climbing around doing some adventurous shit in New Hampshire for some campaign ads. Campaign ads for a certain... Sorry, kill the music. I can't even get my train of thought. For a certain person who's running for political office in New Hampshire. Maybe you're familiar with him. Maybe you're not. That's all I'm going to say for right now. But we were shooting some ads for him, and some really fun stuff, some really cool stuff in the works. But yeah, climbing around on the bottom of a bridge to get that shot just right. I almost fell to my death once while I was staring into my camera. There was a drop-off, like this underside of a bridge where you may or may not be supposed to walk down there. I don't, whatever. But where a lot of homeless people seem to go. And as you're walking along this grate, there's a drop off, about a 10-foot drop at one point, and I'm like staring at my camera filming the subject, and didn't look up until like right before it, and then I like stumbled and caught myself, thankfully. Otherwise, it could have been bad. But then on my way back out of there, I'm like walking backwards because I didn't learn well enough the first time. So I'm walking backwards on the same grate. And then I turn. I'm like, all right, I got the shot. I turn and just smack my head straight into a beam. So that's that. And that was fun. Again, lots of interesting, fun stuff coming out of there. Lots of speakers that I had the pleasure of filming. People like Jeffrey Tucker, Jeremy Kaufman, and others. I'm really bad with names, sorry. But there was a lot of great ones. The dude who, Jerry Sanger, I think, dude who originally invented Wikipedia, stuff like that. Fun, Liberty stuff, and good times all around. Also, shout out to Bill Barger for, he's one of the Mises Caucus dudes and one of the Free State dudes, and he was basically my liaison for the weekend, and he carted me around and gave me food and drinks and weed and stuff. So it was a fun time. I believe I put on 10 pounds while I was there, but hey, it happens. Sometimes, like, I want to say that's what happens when you're on vacation, but I filmed for, like, I don't know, probably 20 hours while I was out there, at least. Let me see. It was, like, 8 hours one day, 8 hours another day, and then, like, another 8 hours at least. So more than 20 hours. You do the math. But also shot some footage for maybe a music video while I was out there with somebody else who does music. Some stuff is in the works. Just know that it was a lot. It was a lot. And it was kind of a miracle that I found time to work in a podcast during that. But because of that, don't think we're going to have an after party today. So we're going to probably just fit everything into the main episode because I'm going on nap time, NAP time, and we're going to do his show this afternoon, I think at 5. But I don't think it's going to be live anymore. I said it was going to be live on Monday. I don't think it's going to be live, but that will be coming out later this week. So no after party today, but consider Monday the pregame and nap time when I do that, the after party, because hella busy. I also brought back, like, for all those hours that I was filming, that amount of time is, the amount of footage that I need to dig through, this mountain of footage. All the speakers, and shot about probably 5 to 6 campaign ads. So lots of stuff in the works. But we got to do this anyway. We got to do this. We got to talk about what's going on in the world. Oh, actually, another fun story. So I go to TSA and go to get on. This is actually on the way home. I've had pretty good experiences with the New Hampshire TSA and airline and all that. When I've gone there in the past for PorkFest, they've typically been pretty chill. Like, coming in, I usually fly out of Chicago, and I've got this, like, a backpack full, just completely full of gear. I've got, like, 2 or 3 camera bodies, like 4 or 5 lenses or so, and just tons and tons of electronics and shit that most people would probably not recognize necessarily because it's all disassembled as well. So going through TSA is always a bit of a hassle. It's not too bad because I make it pretty easy for them. My bag just zips open so you can look in it, see all the things. Usually when I go in flying out of Chicago, they give me a little bit more of a beef. They usually have to pull it aside and then swab it and, like, check it out and whatever. So yeah, that there's usually that in Chicago. But coming out of New Hampshire back, I usually, like, the last time I came out of New Hampshire before this time, after PorkFest last year, when I was leaving, I handed them my bag and I was like, do I need to unzip this? And they're like, nope, don't worry about it. Just send it on through. So they're just like, yep, a whole bunch of electronics in there, tons of stuff. We don't even need to unzip it to look at it. Just, yep, we're doing our job great. I don't know if that makes them better or worse, because if TSA is supposed to be doing something, they're definitely not doing it. But the argument could certainly be made that none of the rest of the TSA that's more stringent is actually preventing anything either. Anyway, this time I got a little bit of beef through TSA coming back from New Hampshire, and it wasn't to do with the gear. It was like, this lady was like just being kind of short with me, just like, I don't know, going in Chicago, I didn't even have to do the hands above your head walk through. It was just a metal detector, and then you go through and get your stuff, which I thought was weird and good. That's great. And then I was like, maybe things are changing. But then in New Hampshire, they had the arms above your head, full body scan. And the lady, okay, so this story isn't as long as I'm making it, but I take off my belt and do all that stuff, and I go through, put my hands above my head. She's like, "Sir, could you please pull up your pants?" And I'm wearing tight jeans, like nothing's out, and I've got a medium length shirt. It could have only been going to like the top of my waistline max. So I'm like, I didn't say any of this because I don't know. I just wanted to get through and get the fuck out of there. But what I should have said was, you are the one who told me that I have to take my belt off, walk in here, and put my arms above my head, which raises my shirt a little bit. So I don't have a belt. My arms are above my head. If you see a little bit of skin, that might be on you entirely. Also, I'm sorry about a little bit of hip skin when your job currently, right now, your only job is to take a naked picture of me. So maybe don't worry about how much me is showing. Take the naked picture of me so I can get the hell out of here because, I don't know. I just, something about, "Sir, could you please pull your pants up?" rubbed me the wrong way because they weren't down. It wasn't like I was sagging. I don't know. Whatever. Those prudes at the TSA, man. I'll tell you what. Anything else? Oh, I also thought it was fun to mention that while I was waiting for my flight, I was just sitting there, no mask on or anything, drinking a beer, and they were like, you just keep hearing the announcements over the intercom that's like, it's federal law to wear your mask, so you have to wear your mask anywhere in the entire airport. You have to wear your mask on the grounds of the airport. You have to wear your mask. It's like, first off, no, obviously you don't. So I took the picture that I posted online the other day, or yesterday, or whatever. Time is no meaning anymore. But I posted the picture of me just holding a beer cup without it's empty, and I'm not wearing a mask. And it's like, apparently an empty beer cup is enough to override federal law. That's all it takes. Because either you have to wear it everywhere, either you have to wear it everywhere. It's federal law, and these restaurants and everything are breaking the law, or you're full of shit. It's just like the wording of it that you have to wear it at all times on airport grounds, like all times, or unless eating or drinking or this or that or whatever, take your pick, or unless we don't feel like enforcing it, whatever. Not that I want them to enforce it, but they're still just straight lying because that's a lie. You don't have to wear it everywhere on airport grounds. Otherwise, you would have to wear it while eating. Anyway, whatever. That's really neither here nor there. It's just funny to me that, it's that easy in a place where they're utopianly or dystopianly putting out these announcements that you're breaking a law, and then, you're just sitting there drinking a drink. Am I going to get arrested? I don't know how this works. Anyway, whatever. We all know that the rules are made up and the points don't matter. But hey, our show is sponsored by a couple of things. Our show is sponsored today by people like Jack Casey. Jack Casey's books. Go get them at jackcaseybooks.com. Check them out. You got the long ad at the beginning, so I'll give you a short one here. But Jack Casey's an awesome dude who supports this show and writes a mean book that might trigger you. Check out WVW or the Royal Green series. I personally I personally recommend WVW as it is the one that I've read and I really enjoyed it. But check them out at jackcaseybooks.com. We also have Matt Miller, Liberty Portraits at libertyportraits.com. If you like some of these beautiful portraits here that Matt Miller has done, go on over to his website and check out some more at libertyportraits.com. He paints a bunch of people, a bunch of Liberty people, and a bunch of other people. But you can get prints and have him go to your festival, and you can get custom stuff and all sorts of fun things at libertyportraits.com. We are also sponsored by, of course, y'all, and I know this isn't up to date. I'm sorry. I think it's Lauren Carter, who's not on this list yet, who joined last week. Lauren, thank you. But Ryan Graham, Kimberly Owen, Matt Miller. Hold up. I know that there's like 3 of them that I keep missing up here. Patrick Leistner, whatever. Alex Vanderwielen, Catholic Board Gamer, Peter R, GitKid 419, Chris Alex W Magoo, Break the Bell, Sean Luke Picard, Gremlin 666, and I know all the rest of you have at least had your name read once. David Allgood, Gigi Vaughn, Zarathan of Anarchy, Lauren Carter. Oh, she was already on there. Maybe she left and came back. I don't know. Jack Casey, Ryan Mortons, and Craig DaCosta, Mitchell Caswell, or Michael Caswell, or Mitchell something, and I don't know. There's so many Mitchells and Michaels. I think there's only two, and I get them both mixed up. But if you want to get your name on that list and have me read it wrong, go on over to patreon.com/thesystemisdown and sign up for the Downers Club for as little as $5 a month. That is the cost of like half an airport beer per month at the and join the Downers Club and get more weird, more raw, more offensive, more weekly content. If you like this stuff and you want to see more of it, go over there and you'll get a whole bunch more of it. Patreon.com/thesystemisdown. All right. Okay. Other things that happened this weekend, and also just getting into the news here. We're just kicking this off. We're already like 18 minutes in. Whatever. So what do we got in the comments? If you guys aren't in the comments, get in the comments. I have some energy today. I slept well last night, being back in my own bed. It was nice. Let me see. Shannon says, I'm going to stop self-identifying as the TSID producer. Yeah, that's probably fair. Were you doing that? I don't know. Whatever. CD says, or TK says, seems like it would be a pretty short order to just get the masses to completely ignore the tyrants, but I guess not. Okay. CD says, he forgot us. Dan will remember at the end when he plugs it and then spastically roll them way too long. I'm not sure what we're talking about. Fuck you guys. All right. Anyway, so we're talking about the news today. And if you're new here, this is the place where we just look outside the window. We watch the world burn. I give you the news in the most irreverent and irresponsible manner that I can, because when the world is burning, all that we have left is laughter, and so let's laugh along at the king together as we watch it all go down in flames. Or better yet, let's change the world in the process. Like there's the good and the bad here. It's like the black-pilled side of me that's like, hey, it's burning, so let's have some fun, and then there's the lighter side of me, the white-pilled side that's like, hey, we might be able to change it, but until then, personally, I think the main way to change the shift of things, the way the tides are going, I think the main way to do it is to laugh at it, is to mock all the rules and all the authoritarians and everything. Mock the whole damn system. All right, so some other things that happened this week, and we do like to start with the good news to set the stage, set the tone for a happy, lighter thing, and then we pull the rug out from under you. But so I wasn't there, so I don't know much about it, but I did hear some things. While I was at Liberty Forum, the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania convention happened, and it's kind of a contentious one because of all the shenanigans that they pulled last year. If you don't remember, it was something like, a bunch of people came in from out of state because they wanted to support, and they were supporting the Mises Caucus. So I guess if you come from out of state, you can still vote, but you have to be, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, because mostly who gives a shit about these bylaws and things. But you had to be, there was a bylaw or something that they had never enforced before, that they enforced then, that was you had to be a member in the state party for X amount of time, and a bunch of people didn't meet that, so they had joined the Libertarian Party. Let's say you had to be in for a month, and they joined like a week or two in advance just so they could go vote and help push this agenda, I suppose. Again, if you're not familiar with how libertarian politics works, we don't pay that much attention to like state borders and things very often. I don't really know entirely how it all works, but if you are from out of state, you can still be a member of that state party, and if you are a member of that state party for an X amount of time, you can go join the convention and vote, which is a little strange, but hey, you do you. Anyway, the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania had their next convention, so this was one that was like building up because there was a bunch of what some people called shady shit, and other people called, hey, just legal maneuvers. That happened last year. And then this year, some things happened. I heard some rumblings. I don't have the full scoop on it yet. If you guys have somebody who could come on and share, you're welcome to send them my way. But maybe I'll get Heiss on or somebody. But this did happen, and this is just beautiful enough that it's almost all that matters. Maybe I should make sure this is going to play. Oh, yep, it's going to play. Okay, cool. All right, this happened. I don't know if you guys are familiar with with Nick Sarwark. He's been on this show before. Cool, great guy, real upstanding chap. No, yeah, y'all know him. Y'all have your feelings, and yeah, this happened.
Yesterday, at the meeting, the chair indicated that Mr. Enser had a yellow legal pad, and that was the place to sign up if you wanted to be placed in, if you wanted to be a delegate to Reno, and that was the list of people that we would vote on. Correct. This body or somebody else did not use the list that my name is on to, or them, or him, or a lot of people, and we were lied to about how to sign up to be a delegate, and we were not given the privilege of being voted on. That is a privilege inherent to the right of the member. I object to the entire slate. It is a level of dishonesty and cheating that I've never seen.
So I don't understand the situation fully, and if, like, this goes both ways for me. If somebody is doing something that's shady or corrupt, and it sounds like he's trying to call out something that is shady and corrupt, even though I think Nick Sarwark, for the most part, is pretty shady and corrupt, if, let's say, the Mises Caucus is doing something shady and corrupt, I will call that out as well. So if anybody knows the full details of this, that's not what we're really here to discuss, because I'm sure there's back and forth on that. But what we're really here to discuss is just the beauty of, oh, hey, I'm in the background in that video, says James Gentleman. Nice. I love Hooked on Phonics, Dan. Yeah, cool. Anyway, so yes, there is some stuff going on. For those that don't know, Nick Sarwark was the former chairman of the entire Libertarian National Party of the United States, and he stepped down, and there was some weird stuff about him stepping down. Like he with the convention and all that, he stepped down right before it because he wasn't going to host an in-person convention, yada yada, blah blah blah. And he's called out a lot of people, a lot of good people in the libertarian movement, like Tom Woods and Ron Paul and stuff like that. So he's made some enemies over the years. He's good at keeping his composure and stoicism. That's his number one value, and he's all about it. But anyway, he moved up to New Hampshire, the Free State, and he ran for an office that nobody else was running for, and everybody in the libertarian parties, you can vote no to if you don't like the one person. Like, the one person doesn't just automatically get to do that. And so he ran against nobody and lost. And it was quite beautiful and telling of where the things are going. So because he lost there, people are saying that's why, oh, he's down in PA, still trying to be a delegate. I think what happened, I could be wrong on this, but I think I saw somebody post that he more recently, like the NOTA thing was last year, this time he in New Hampshire tried getting to become a delegate in New Hampshire, and his own state turned him down, and then he went to PA, tried to become a delegate, and PA seems like something happened to where he wasn't able to do that, and everybody laughed his ass out of the place because he is not known like that. So everybody, lots of people assume that this guy is corrupt in one way or another, with the New Hampshire party drama and all that, or with other things, whatever. So it's just ironic and hilarious. I got to give all that backstory so you understand that this person is a generally unliked person in our own party who was our former chair and got noted and has been involved what some people believe is in some corruption. And so for him to say, I have never seen a level of corruption like this before, it's just beautiful. But yeah, I don't know. If there is corruption going on that kept him from being a delegate when he should have rightly been a delegate, then I don't support that either. But I do support this.
And we were lied to about how to sign up to be a delegate, and we were not given the privilege of being voted on. That is a privilege inherent to the right of the member. I object to the entire slate. It is a level of dishonesty and cheating that I've never seen.
All right. So there's me and my beer. I had that pulled up. We're not going to talk about that picture. I just have it there because I like to look at pictures of myself. Speaking of the Libertarian Party sent out today, just in honor of women and National Women's Day, they sent out this International Women's Day thing. Now, I know what you're thinking. Dan's going to split hairs on the, I don't know, the cultural shit again, the woke shit. And yes, that's absolutely correct. I don't really care if the Libertarian Party wants to celebrate International Women's Day. There's more to this, I think, than that. But they put out this email, got this today, saying, Happy International Women's Day. As libertarians, we champion women's rights because we are the only party that believes in the sovereignty of each individual. We believe that women, like all individuals, deserve to live their lives in the way they desire. This includes, and has always included, sovereignty over their careers, their bodies, and the protection of their rights. For these reasons, the Libertarian Party has been a beacon for accomplished women, and 2022 will be no different. Many accomplished women have already stepped up to represent the party as candidates for public office. Please support blah 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 blah. Please support these trailblazing women. We got Natalie Bruno, Freena, nothing against these ladies in particular. I've worked with Natalie Bruno, I believe, in one form or fashion, and if I recall, she was pretty dope. But yeah, so nothing against them. It's just like when you're saying things like, first off, I'm surprised there's nothing about being pro-abortion in here, so good on them for that. It says careers, their bodies, and the protection of their rights. Obviously, women should have the right to protect their bodies, and also I don't like abortion. So I'm one of those heretics to the Libertarian Party. But anyway, just the way they word this is like, it's kind of just the problem in and of itself. It's like exposing what the problem is with you doing this. It's like, we believe that women, like all individuals, deserve to live their lives in the way they desire. So why are you making it specifically about women? If you believe it's all individuals and women it's no different for women. Like, I get the whole, marketing to certain target demographics, but putting out massive campaigns that are just based on race and identity and stuff. This one isn't about race. The next one is. Don't worry. But this it just feels pandery. It feels like they're doing what every single other freaking organization is doing for Women's Month and Women's Day and Women's this, Women's that. It doesn't have anything to do with women. This statement here doesn't have anything to do with women. You put in, like all individuals. So why are you talking about women specifically if it's all individuals? What they should say is, Happy Women's Day. Everybody's free, or we believe that everybody should be free. I get, okay. So I'm splitting hairs, whatever. This isn't that big a deal. But let me see what else we have here. Hold up. Let me switch without spoiling anything here. Let me see what's next. Oh, speaking of no, we're not going to get to that one yet. Yeah. So, like I mentioned, there's been some others, and I don't care if you support Black History Month. Obviously, I don't, but this one came out last month. It said, when February 1st arrives each year, everyone rushes to recognize Black History Month. Most do it because it, quote, looks good to do so, with the racial division elevated over the past few years. These efforts have been grandstands in virtue signaling, doing nothing for Black communities. News stations, companies, good Lord, I'm bidening out already, and political parties are looking to partner or pander. So they're pointing out that, okay, hold on, let me read more. But while everyone else looks to pander, the Libertarian Party looks to find solutions for all Americans, including Black Americans. So again, it's all Americans, including Black Americans, and just the irony of you opening this statement with, hey, every time it's February 1st, all these businesses and organizations come out and they pander to Black people. We're not pandering to Black people because we're doing it more. We're doing it for real. We really mean it. Like, that's the same thing, y'all. You're pandering and putting the BLM fist or whatever and Black History Month and all that. It's like, you can support, I don't know. If this was a statement like any other time, it's just so self-defeating because you're condemning other people for pandering to black people in a freaking post or email, mass email. You're condemning people for doing exactly what you're doing in this email, and then moving on to the women's rights and all that. Like, I don't know the right way to do it. Yes, there are important things that need to be discussed with race and with gender and things like that. And the problem is that they're taking the exact same tactic of everybody else, and they're masking it in this noble ability to call out other people for the thing that they're doing, which is just so meh. It's so meh. Anyway, J.K. Rowling was trending again this week. What's she up to? Probably some anti-trans stuff. J.K. Rowling, if you're not familiar, gets in a lot of hot water just for saying that trans women aren't women, period. She has trans friends. She has trans women friends. She talks about it all the time. I know there's no way. Once you disagree a little bit, sorry, this is crooked and it's driving me crazy. Once you disagree a little bit with the narrative, then you're on your own. And freaking Buck Angel, I think, is a case in point of that. But J.K. Rowling, which I don't know that much about this particular situation. We've talked about the J.K. Rowling stuff in the past, but I don't know that much about this particular situation. But I did find it amusing, the little bit that I witnessed here. So this video J.K. Rowling shared, and it is important. It has to do with International Women's Day. So, hey, speaking of women and stuff, here's this from Annalise Dodds. I don't know who that is. That's the level of journalism here. Labour and Cooperative MP for Oxford East Shadow Women and Equalities Secretary, Chair of UK Labour Party and Stronger Together, Rose Hill resident. What was that last part? Views my own. Yep, that makes all the sense in the world, and I'm very happy for you. But here's what she had to say.
Today is International Women's Day, a time to celebrate the victories women have won in the fight for equality. Labour governments have been a key part of that fight, radically improving support for women in their work and family lives. We are the party of the Equal Pay Act, the Sex Discrimination Act, the Equality Act, the Minimum Wage, and Sure Start. And almost 100 years since the first women...
So she's a politician that's pandering to women, obviously. That's the gist of this. It's Women's Day, and we do all these things for women. You should vote for us. You're familiar with that story, right? You know, there are other parties that do stuff like that, like this and that, and, you know, pandering to women for votes. It's not a new trick. But J.K. Rowling shared that video and said, "This morning you told the British public you literally can't define what a woman is. What's the plan? Lift up random objects until you find one that rattles?" So, yeah. So the video is all about lifting up women and identifying women and seeing women and women being heard and everything. But apparently this person also said she can't define what a woman is, and J.K. Rowling took her little task for it. And, yeah, somebody responded and said, "You really want your legacy to die on this hill?" And J.K. Rowling said, "Yes, sweetheart, I'm staying right here on this hill, defending the right of women and girls to talk about themselves, their bodies, and their lives in any way they damn well please. You worry about your legacy, I'll worry about mine." So it's like, which I do think it's funny that people are like, "Oh, your legacy is going to be for being anti-trans," like only amongst idiots. Only amongst people who don't do any digging or thinking or reading or anything for themselves. I don't know if you've heard of her books. They seem to be pretty popular. Seems to be part of her legacy. A couple of them, I think, were even like adapted to some sort of miniseries, film, or something. I don't know, whatever. But, you know, this is her legacy now. Woke berries, woke cookies, all the woke fun things. Yeah. So, whatever. Woke people gonna woke, and they are trying to attack her again just for sticking to it. And that's the main thing here. Even if I fully disagreed with J.K. Rowling, you gotta kind of applaud her for sticking to it. And I've felt that way for a lot of people. Like, I talked about John Cooper from Skillet, that I recently realized is talking about liberty and stuff. I think he's a little bit more right-wing than libertarian, but I'm like, you know, okay, actually, better example, the dude from Trapped, Chris Taylor Brown, Trapped guy, who's been on the show a couple of times. I should get him on, see what he's up to, if he's still alive. I don't know. But there's a part of me that respects that. Like, he's not the smartest tool in the shed. And, you know, I don't agree with the the hardcore Trump support. I'm not that guy. I'm not. But when he comes out and basically puts his entire career on the line, I don't think it's the smartest thing, but there's a part of me that, you know, kind of applauds it. Kind of applauds taking the road less traveled and sticking to it, even if it's not going well for your career. So, whatever. Good on J.K. Rowling for sticking to it. And, yeah, she's not a transphobe. So, sorry that narrative doesn't work anymore. But, okay. Speaking of pandering, Macklemore. You hear about this guy? This rapper guy? I stole his haircut long ago when it was cool, and I'm probably not going back. I mean, this hair hasn't been washed in like a couple days, and it doesn't matter what I do. Like, since it's short on the sides, I know it's the alt-right haircut or something like that. They're just right to do this. Like, it's just so much easier. It looks fly. It looks dope. And I can wear a hat and take off a hat, and I don't have hat hair. It might be matted down a little bit, but there's no like line of hat. There's no hat line. None of that. I don't have to do my hair at all. I just get out of the shower and go, and it's like dries, looking like that, for better and for worse sometimes. But hey, it is what it is. Anyway, Macklemore, my hairstylist guy, he's back in the news for some reason, and he was trending the other day. I don't know or care why, but it was mostly because of this stuff. Macklemore says he still writes letters to Kanye West, Kendrick Lamar, and Drake to apologize for accepting the Grammy in 2013, but they haven't responded. Is this why he completely disappeared? Like, I've noticed him doing a couple things here and there, but he, like, real hard fell off the map, and then he came back doing his, like, golf dad apparel or something, trying to make that seem cool. It didn't work. But, yeah, he apparently he's still, so he won the Grammy award or whatever in 2013. I barely care about any of these awards. They're all completely just back-patting circle jerks of elitist inbred Illuminati types. But I digress. He won the award when Drake and Kendrick Lamar and Kanye West all had good albums or something that year. I don't know. I don't really listen to Kendrick Lamar or Drake all that much. But Kanye West's album was okay. It was okay at best, I would say. I don't know. Which one was it? I think it was the one with... was it Yeezus? I think it was Yeezus. But just... Sure, he might not have been the most qualified to win. I don't know, because I don't really listen to Drake and Kendrick Lamar all that much. But if you recall, 2013, he was blowing the hell up. He was huge. He was everywhere. Like, his main songs are still everywhere. Thrift Shop and Same Love and all that fun pandery stuff. I love that album. The Heist was great. Still love it to this day, even though he's kind of gone off the lefty rails and is really boring to listen to, open his mouth anymore. But I love that album. Still do. The one after that, great too. Great live concert. My wife and I went and saw him in Peoria. It was great. But yeah, he feels so bad for winning. Can you imagine having an award and feeling like you didn't earn it? Or like having so much self-doubt and self-loathing that you think it's because you're white that you won over some other guys? It might be. It doesn't really make sense to me. It seems to me more like he won because he was blowing the fuck up. And yes, Kendrick Lamar was also blowing the fuck up. But I couldn't tell you a Kendrick Lamar song. That might just be me, but, this was the time around when Macklemore was on SNL, and he was all over the late night shows and stuff, and Thrift Shop was everywhere, and Can't Hold Us was everywhere. I think that was that album too, right? Like, big, major, massive songs. And we're just supposed to assume that because the white guy won over 3 black dudes in hip-hop, that it's because he's white that he won. Well, can you look back and, like, is this normal? I don't know. Maybe these the Grammys are racist. I couldn't tell you because I don't watch them. But for him to feel so unjust, or like unqualified, and so he feels so bad about it that it's a one-way pen pal letter writing from him to the other guys, and it's just like such a sad look, such a sad thing to hear that he writes them letters apologizing, and they just, most likely they just don't give a shit. They don't care. They're like, whatever, we got it, we'll get the next one. Who cares? I mean, all these people win awards all the time. Who cares? Whatever. But it's not the best look when your gangsta life is calling and apologizing to the gangstas for being white. Speaking of Kanye West, because I know certain people that watch this show really love when I talk about Kanye West, we're going to talk about some more Kanye West. This video came out, what was it, a couple days ago? March 3rd. Oh, it's the 9:30. Wow, time flies when you're flying. This video by Kanye came out, and it's raised some buzz. I don't know how much of this I can play. So, to the people who are listening to the audio, shame on you first. But this is all claymation, creepy, dark, black and white video. You've probably seen the screenshot, at least, of Pete Davidson. Just creepy little Pete Davidson who managed. He's not quite as they really captured the likeness, but he's not quite as creepy as the original. But he's there smoking a cigarette in the dark, and Kanye comes along and like puts a bag over his head. And in the actual live shots, he's holding the head of a person that doesn't look anything like Pete. In fairness, it's just a creepy shot. And then he goes on to bury Pete Davidson. Put some rose seeds on top of him. He buries him alive, puts rose seeds on top of him, and then they sprout and they grow up, whatever, and then stuff. And there's one shot, this one in particular is going around, where he's like buried alive and he's got flowers blooming around him. He didn't even kill him. Like, people are acting like he's dead, or like this is so menacing. I don't think it's the best look, to be completely honest. It's not a great look when you're like threatening to, like quasi-threatening to bury your ex-wife's new boyfriend alive. But in fairness, he never killed the guy in the video, I don't think. He drives at the end with he drives a truck that's full of flowers, which I can only imagine is indicative of the flowers that he creepily, stalkerly took to Kim on Valentine's Day. So lots of interesting stuff there, but lots of people freaking out, saying this is like a bridge too far. Need I remind you, Kathy Griffin holding the head of the president at the time, severed and bloody. It's a little bit more than that's a little bit more than this is, I would say, because this is first off, it's not even made to look real. Yes, it's not the best look. It's not like it's winning him any favors. It's winning him favors in certain demographics of people who think that Kanye went to like mainstream to pop or whatever. I think we're a far cry from mainstream pop Kanye, but this should seal the deal that he's a super hardcore gangsta who walks around at fashion shows wearing fashiony masks and stuff. But super gangsta here, burying Pete Davidson alive and growing flowers out of his head. Whatever. I can neither there's a part of me that praises it just artistically. I think it's interesting and it's well done. It's creative and it's dark, which I certainly appreciate. But the husband and father in me is a little bit like, all right, bud, you want to wrap this up now? Anytime would be great. Like, did you get it all out of your system? And there's a part of me that doesn't trust Kanye either. Like, I've talked about it way too much, apparently, for some people, but Kanye going from like badass whatever gangsta dude to saved spiritual Christian guru whatever, who still had his ego and his like pride on level 20 out of 10 when he was like super humble Christian man. He was still out there bragging about how amazing he was and how he's basically a god, even if he's not saying he's a god anymore. He's never not acted like it. And I feel like it's all kind of a campaign. I feel like, we did the good boy Kanye. Now we've got I feel like, okay, to simplify this, he's really capitalizing on songs, whatever. Not that I care that much, because I would rather, I don't want him to fake being Christian or whatnot, but if you believe in any of like the conspiracy stuff and the good and the bad and the Illuminati, random whatever Holly weird bullshit, all the stuff. I don't 100% know any of this stuff, but it seems like, at the very least, from a marketing perspective, he went from gangsta Kanye to artsy Kanye to like artsy going to the darkness a little bit Kanye, and then he went to good, light, happy Kanye. Now he's back down, like going darker than ever, where there's like churches burning and stuff like that in his live performances. So I don't know, marketing agenda or more. You be the judge. Let me know in the comments. Do you think he is part of some sort of conspiracy to turn our children to the dark side? Because that's not unheard of. So moving on. Speaking of the dark side, and I don't mean for skin color. I mean for personality and decency in the world. Joy Reid just keeps coming up in the news because every now and then, every other day or so, it's like between Joy Reid, Joy Behar, and Whoopi Goldberg. It's just like they're juggling or they're taking turns over who can say the stupidest thing any given day. I feel like they're basically the same person, and whenever they're in the news, it's basically the same type of bullshit that they're talking about. This time, it's because Ukraine is you're racist now if you support Ukraine. I think. I'm pretty sure. Let's hear it from the horse herself and see what she has to say.
Okay, let's face it. The world is paying attention because this is happening in Europe. If this was happening anywhere else, would we see the same outpouring of support and compassion? But we don't need to ask ourselves if the international response would be the same if Russia unleashed their horror on a country that wasn't white and largely Christian. Because Russia has already done it in Syria. This is a teachable moment for us in the media. We aren't afraid to call out our own industry. There is a lot of soul searching that we need to do in Western media about why some wars and lives seem to matter more than others.
So what she's saying is, if you support Ukraine, you only support them because they're straight white dudes, basically. I am so tired of this shit. You guys, like, Ukraine last week, you were a racist if you didn't support Ukraine, and now you're a racist if you do support Ukraine. Just make up your minds, guys. Who are we supposed to support? Either way, I don't support them. Like, I support the people of Ukraine, I support the people of Russia, and I don't support the governments of Ukraine, Russia, or the United States. It's basically as simple as that. I can support somebody and not want to go to nuclear war. I can support somebody and, like, I can condemn what the Russian government is doing and some of what the Ukraine government is doing and some of what the United States government is doing. I can condemn that, and that doesn't mean that I hate everybody in the United States. It doesn't mean I hate everybody in Russia or everybody in Ukraine. I know this doesn't have anything to do with what Joy Reid said, but she's trying to say that Ukraine is a bunch of white Christian people, which seems a little bit far-fetched. And not only that, but Russia, don't they claim to be a Christian nation these days? Aren't they considered pretty white? Some might even say whiter than the Ukrainians. I don't just pick the propaganda line thread. Like, it's almost like all of this is disinformation. It's just trying to stir up confusion, not even controversy. Just to keep you from not only from knowing what is, but what you're supposed to think. Like, they're setting landmines everywhere because somebody's going to take this and go, well, if you support Ukraine now, you're bad. Because everybody's dumb. Everybody's just lemmings running off the bridge with Joy Reid leading the way. So there's that. That's fun. If you support Ukraine, it's because it's only because they're a white Christian nation. As I mentioned on Monday's episode, there is something to be said about, us caring more about this type of war than wars in the Middle East and stuff like that. Yes, there might be a racial bend to it for some. I think it's more because it impacts us infinitely less. So it's easier to not think about. For Joy Reid to pretend like the mainstream media is like they didn't. So she's acting like she's doing the noble good of calling out these other wars for being racist because nobody cared that Syria and Afghanistan, all these like people suffered in these different places as well, and there were brown folks. So the fact that nobody cared about that and they care about this, that's because they're racist. Well, you are the media, first off, so there's that. So it was up to you to cover that at the time, and I'm pretty sure you were probably covering it in a warmongering way, just like everybody's doing now, trying to get us involved, sticking our noses into places that it doesn't belong. And if you were covering it back then and you weren't covering, like, it's just, anytime the media calls itself out, it's just a bit weird, because it's like, so we haven't been covering this, and isn't that racist? It's like, I guess, like, if you want to go there, sure, whatever. I guess you can call yourself a racist if you must, but it's mostly the news coverage that you're referring to, right? This isn't about individuals. This is about racist news anchors. And I would say, saying that we should care less about Ukraine because they're, like, that's basically what she's saying. Care less about them because they're white and Christian. Like, none of this has anything to do with white or Christian. I'm pretty sure it has more to do with the fact that us getting involved in this could end humankind forever. Maybe that has something to do with us caring a little bit more about it. Maybe we weren't worried about Afghanistan or Syria or these people, getting into a nuclear hot war with us. When they say civilized, when they say we're attacking a civilized nation, that means we're talking about nations that have the capacity to defend themselves, to fight back, or to fight in offense, or what have you. They have more power, yes. Civilized, meaning dangerous, basically. Like, their technology is more advanced. That's why we don't typically want to go to war with them, because their technology is more advanced. If we wanted to go and flatten off a bunch of African countries, it wouldn't be that hard to do. African countries don't seem to go to war all that often, it seems. I could be wrong. I'm not the geopolitics expert, but yeah. Huh. So, I don't even remember the point that I'm trying to make. I don't think that the war in Ukraine, you bring that up, is just, I've got nothing. It's not a way to, like, she's not trying to make people support or not support Ukraine here, I don't think. What she's trying to do is just race bait, come up with another story. Like, just, hey guys, remember, in case you forgot, you guys are Christian and white and bad. And so these people over here are also kind of Christian, white, and bad. Just so you know, a lot of them aren't perfect. They might be white as well. So if you're supporting Ukraine, just be careful. Like, you could support them in their struggle, but preferably not those white Christian ones. Those are bad. I don't know. It's gay. It's dumb. Whatever. Thank you, Joy Reid, for another hot take. Speaking of hot takes, Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin is sad. Let's check some of these comments first. Clickbait Cancer says Replica Films. King Salmon Fish says, here you are still talking about him, so it worked. I think that was about Kanye West. Zelensky is the single point of failure on the Crane scheme, bro. They caught on. He can effectively surrender and alter public psychology and not kill Assad. Okay. Did you guys know that Zelensky was an actor who played the part of, if I'm understanding this correctly, I don't have it pulled up, but if I'm understanding this correctly, Zelensky was an actor and a comedian who played in basically a sitcom where he became the leader of the country, and all the things that are playing out right now basically are what went down. I might be overselling it. I'm not sure. Look into it. Do your own research. But Alec Baldwin is back. Speaking of actors and shitty people who do shitty things, Alec Baldwin says certain Rust lawsuits are targeted toward deep pocket litigants. Deep pocket litigants. Maybe you recall Mr. Baldwin. He's that actor who shot a lady in the face on set of a movie that he was making. And now he is sad. He's sad. I mean, he's been sad this whole time whenever it works out, but this time he's sad because, okay, let's just read. While Alec Baldwin did not name specific plaintiffs, he said in part of the Rust lawsuits, why sue people if you're not going to get money? Why sue people if you're not going to get money? Alec Baldwin says he believes some individuals filing lawsuits over the Rust shooting are motivated by finances. Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. Because they can't sue you enough to get Helena Hutchins back to life, I would imagine. That's her name, right? I don't remember. Multiple outlets, including The Hollywood Reporter and CNN, report that Baldwin, who accidentally misfired a prop gun on the set of the Western film Rust last October, resulting in the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Helena, that's what it is. Sorry. Just stroking out over here. Cited deep pocket litigants on Saturday while speaking at the Boulder International Film Festival in Colorado. Quote, from the beginning, from the moment this happened, everybody has put out... Okay, I'm going to try and do a voice and also read. My brain doesn't usually work this way, as I'm sure you're familiar. From the beginning, from the moment this happened, everybody has put out... Besides all the anguish and the suffering, horrible feelings, we have, and of course, there are two victims, and nobody else is a victim, so to speak. We have dealt with a situation where specific people are not as interested in finding out what really happened, said Alec Baldwin, 63, during a moderated event at the festival per THR. What you have is a certain group of people, litigants and whatever, on whatever side, who their attitude is, well, the people who likely seem negligent have no money, and the people who have money are not negligent. The actor continued, as seen in footage shared by CNN. I suppose I should have just watched the video, then I wouldn't have to do this, but here we are. But we're not going to let that stop us from doing what we need to do in terms of litigation, Baldwin added. Why sue people if you're not going to get money? That's what you're doing it for. So, I mean, this is just wordplay. This is word salad to try and convince you that he is not a bad guy. Like, he's just saying some people are suing me, and they're bad because they're just in it for the money. Yes, that's the only thing they have left to get. You're not in prison. You should consider yourself very lucky, and you should pay every single penny that they ask for. I don't really know. Like, as a libertarian, I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know what amount of money makes it okay to kill a person or, like, to make it go away so that you don't have to go to prison. I don't necessarily think there should be an amount of money. I think if you take a life, probably there should be something that happens to you that's similar to what you carried out, or at least get you out of society. Yeah. I mean, obviously there's a lot of questions still around this case, but as we all know, the elites don't seem to deal with crime and death and things the same way the rest of us plebs do. He says that there's only two victims here, so to speak. What's funny is that he doesn't say who they are. So when I first read this, I was like, is he talking about the lady he shot and himself? Those are the only two victims? And I remember there was the other guy who got shot a little bit. He got a little shot. There are only two victims, and the people who are suing me are just in it for the money. He's spinning this into, poor me, these people are bad because they're suing me. It's not like they're suing me for some noble cause. They're suing me for, emotional suffering and damages, and the fact that their good friend, their wife and possibly mother is, dead now. They're suing. Can you believe these people? They would just want money. They're so greedy. They're so greedy. The other thing that you might notice about this is it sounds like when he talks in here, it almost sounds like Donald Trump. Quote, from the beginning, from the moment this happened, everybody has put out, okay? Besides all the anguish and the suffering, horrible feelings we have, and of course, there are two victims and nobody else. Remember that. Nobody else is a victim. I walked in here and said to myself, look at all these victims. No, those aren't victims. Those are fake victims. Nobody else is a victim, so to speak. We have dealt with a situation where specific people are not as interested in finding out what really happened. And that's another thing. He says, people aren't interested in finding out what really happened. Are you sure? Are you sure? Who's not interested in finding out what really happened? It seems to me like there's a lot more people who are interested who aren't able to find out what really happened. But hey, what do I know? All right, moving right along. This is a thing. Hold on. Sorry. Let's see. Okay. So this was just trending earlier today, and I thought it was interesting. I say interesting a lot. I thought this was fascinating. I thought it was really neat. But this was trending, having to do with January 6th. Y'all know that there was probably some feds there, right? Y'all know that, right? I mean, at the very least. If it wasn't, like, necessarily instigated by feds, which I think I would have to think that it was. What's his name? Ray Epps and these people who are above reproach while grandma gets thrown in a cage for walking past a velvet rope. Ray Epps is still out there having a blast on his private ranch or whatever it is. But anyway, this was trending earlier today, and I just found it fascinating, just fascinating. There is no credible evidence that the federal government was involved in planning the January 6, 2021 insurrection, fact checkers report. Now, my first question is, and the first question that should be in your mind here is, does that include Donald Trump? There is no credible evidence that the federal government was involved in the planning of January 6th. Would that include Donald Trump? I guess that would have been after, like, on his way. Was he still president? Yeah, he was still speaking as president, right? Yeah, that's what was happening. It was, who cares? But, so, if Donald Trump was colluding and was a part of this, like they've been trying to say, he was like working on getting some people riled up behind the scenes, then that would mean that he wasn't at fault either in this if nobody in federal government was involved. Now, that is assuming that this is not complete and utter bullshit, which we all know it is. This says, there's no credible evidence that the federal government was involved in planning the January 6, 2021 insurrection. Fact checkers report. Many of the hundreds of people who were arrested for participating in the January 6, 2021 insurrection at the U.S. Capitol building were longtime supporters of former President Donald Trump, say fact checkers and reporters. Some of the people who participated in the attacks were named as, quote, unindicted co-conspirators in the Capitol. So some people who participated were labeled unindicted co-conspirators. So, there's some people that were there that helped that aren't being indicted. So, keep that in mind. In Capitol riot indictments, and according to the fact checkers and legal experts, undercover agents cannot be named as unindicted co-conspirators. So, what they're saying is, what it sounds to me is fact checkers and legal experts are saying undercover agents are not, because of the rules, they're not able, they can't be named as unindicted co-conspirators. That's the only thing that they're saying here. They can't be labeled as unindicted co-conspirators. So the fact that no names came out as unindicted co-conspirators that were feds, that proves it, right? And just every time they put out stuff like this, like, oh, the rumor has it this, and we're saying it's false. It's like they're trying to get ahead of the story every time. So what's coming out? Probably something. Keep an eye out, because this is probably to sweep something under the rug that they know is about to come out. That seems to be their MO. But factcheckers.org says there is no evidence that unindicted co-conspirators, quote unquote, mentioned in federal indictments related to January 6th attack are undercover FBI agents or informants, as conservative outlets have claimed or suggested. So because they told you, so you're telling me that feds, cops, basically, FBI, dressed up in their whatever, their polos and their khaki shorts and their Crocs or whatever they do, and their sunglasses. The Fed boys all dressed up. What am I saying? So the Fed boys dressed up, and if they did incite this riot and they were working for the government to do so, it's okay. We don't have to worry about that being a thing because the government told us that they didn't do it. I'm convinced. That's all the evidence I need. It turns out we're all crazy. Ray Epps is just an upstanding citizen who made some bad choices and for some reason isn't getting punished for them, unlike everybody else that was involved, or even there, or even not there. There was somebody recently, I think it was the former leader of the Proud Boys guy, who, I mean, he kind of seems like a Fed himself, but he apparently just got in trouble. Like, they're still going back and digging up people who weren't even necessarily at January 6th and trying to claim that they were a part of this. How the fuck do you insurrect yourself, says King Salmonfish. Exactly. Yes. How exactly does the government insurrect the government? And if the government was to insurrect the government, would the government hold itself accountable for insurrecting the government? No, they would not. No, they would not. Anyway, moving on. Did you guys hear about all this gay shit down in Florida? There's lots of gay stuff. But you can't say it. You can't say gay. Or that's what we're told. The Don't Say Gay bill. Florida passes controversial Don't Say Gay bill. Let's hear what they have to say.
Controversial Florida.
This is from abcnews.com, so you know it's legit.
Legislation that critics are calling the Don't Say Gay bill. The bill says that schools, quote, may not encourage classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in K through 12th grade or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students. The bill does not actually define what is age appropriate. To bring us the very latest, we're joined now by ABC's Victor Akendo from Miami. Victor, thanks so much for joining us. Now, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who could become a presidential candidate in 2024, has signaled his support for this bill. Tell us what he has said about it and why he thinks that this is a good idea.
Lindsay, it was here in Miami where the governor did express his support for this bill. At least he signaled his support.
I like how they're showing long footage of Ron DeSantis, but they're not showing anything that he's saying. They're just having somebody else talk over it. Like, that's the point where we're at here is... First off, let me tell you, guys, I talked about this bill a couple weeks ago with Dave. I think it was when Dave Casey was on the show, or maybe it was Adam Nutter. I don't remember which one. But when this thing was first trending, first coming out, the Don't Say Gay bill sounds bad. And this is what I said at the time. Like, some of the things that this bill sounds like it's pushing, I agree with. But calling it the Don't Say Gay bill seems like such bad PR, bad marketing. Well, the problem is that it was never called the Don't Say Gay bill. The left just decided, hey, if we call it that, people will hate it. We can just call it whatever the hell we want, and it's perfectly fine just to smear, just for the smear, just for the hell of it. It's called the Parental Rights in Education bill, but for some reason that doesn't sound as, fun. So it's the Don't Say Gay bill, dubbed the Don't Say Gay bill by the LGBTQ activists. Huh. Yeah, okay. So they get to just change the name, change the marketing, and just call it whatever they want. It's like if there was a bill that was for, I don't know, giving your kids the right to not wear masks in school, and you called it the everyone kill their grandma bill. Like, yes, you can call this whatever you want, but the way the media has run with the absolute lie of this, like, the headline doesn't say even what the bill is. I bet you would have a hard time finding a leftist publication that says the name of the actual bill in the headline instead of the Don't Say Gay bill. Because they want you to think this is all about just complete straight homophobia. Nobody wants you to even talk about homosexuality. That's how conservative Florida has become. It's just a cesspool of everybody. Like, the women have to wear dresses and cover their faces. Oh, wait, no, not Islam. Christian. That's right. The women have to wear dresses, and they have to, cook and clean. That's all women do down there in Florida. Am I right? Am I right, Shannon, in the comments? Let me know. Is that all you ladies do? Are you still allowed to say gay? If not, then that's gay. Under this legislation, these lessons, quote, may not occur in kindergarten through grade 3. 3! That's the big problem here. Or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards. Now, grades K through 3. That's what we're talking about. K through 3. Why is any of this being talked about with kids grades K through 3? Why is it being talked about at all? Why is sexuality of any kind being talked about with kids that are too young to know how to make their own lunch? Right? Like, why do we need to have this conversation then? It's just, like, for me, we did the sex ed thing in 6th grade in public school. I would say if you're going to have any sex ed in school, which personally I don't think is completely necessary, I I know that there's some issues. There's some shitty parents that will not have these conversations with their kids at all because it's uncomfortable, and I think that they're shitty parents. But that doesn't mean that the government is the one who should be teaching them either. That's what schools are, you know. Schools are government indoctrination for kids, and we're starting at grades K. We're going to have government employees talking to your kids about transsexuality, homosexuality, things that these adults don't even fully grasp the concepts, I imagine. But K through 3, why are we talking about anything at that point other than like reading? Maybe reading. Maybe is this like what took the place of cursive? It's just like race and sex and gender theory and all this stuff. Is that what took the place of writing in cursive? Now, I'm not one to promote writing in cursive, and I do think that public school days are way longer than they need to be. As somebody who, you know, went through them as a child when I was young, as in a child, I know how much time is wasted in public schools. I know, you know, I don't think PE should be a thing. Like, sure, it's fun, but it's usually just second recess. It's good for the kids to get exercise and stuff like that, but again, that's kind of up to the parents. It's not the government's job to make sure that your kid is, you know, physically fit or can pass physical tests. It seems a little, I don't know, camp-ish, a little brainwash camp-ish. What am I talking about? Where am I going with this? There's so many things that the government shouldn't even have to teach your kids, how to be healthy, and you know, I don't think sports should be an education thing. I think that sports have some value and a whole lot of negative as well, especially when they're under, you know, public school stuff, and then we end up with these situations where certain athletes get special treatment or they get passed through grades because the teacher knows that kid needs to get a good grade in order to play on the team. What do these things have to do with each other? Absolutely nothing. What do sports have to do with school exactly? If there's any value to public school, which I would argue that there is very little, but if there was any value, it's to teach your kids the basics of reading, writing, arithmetic, and how to live your life. Why aren't they taught how to, like, balance a checkbook? I know, boomer, that's a little bit old. Why aren't they taught how to do things that are valuable to actual society other than what a I don't know, what an amoeba is, or how to, like, do long form fractions and shit, like all the stuff that as an adult you don't even really use. And if you do, if you're working a job where you need long form division or whatever written out, then you're probably going to learn that on the job more than you will have retained from public school. All this to say, there's a lot of bloat and a lot of waste in the public school system anyway. And that's coming from somebody who pays for public school, and my kids go to not a public school, and so I'm paying twice. And I'm paying for, you know, kids that aren't mine, which I'm not a huge fan of. But if my money is going towards something, I would prefer, you know, instead of all these, like, wasted time things, I would prefer that they just went home or were let out. But it's bad enough that we have all this bloat and all this wasted time. It's substantially worse when we're talking about kindergarten teachers who are just so gosh darn bored and having such a hard time with their typical curriculum, which is like nap time and be nice. Like that's the whole kindergarten curriculum, or what it should be. Sleep sometimes, maybe eat healthy with snacks and stuff, and just be nice. That's it. No, we got to teach them about transitioning. We got to teach them about splitting your penis up the middle and peeling it back like a tube of toothpaste and turning it into a vagina because you feel like something else. That might be a little bit harsh, but that is what we're talking about here. I know that's a little bit hyperbolic. I don't think anybody's to that point yet, but why are we bringing this up with like 5-year-olds at all? That's just absolute madness, and it doesn't matter what you call the bill, but it's not called the Don't Say Gay bill. Dear Mark Hamill, it's not called that. So you look like kind of a fucking moron and a buffoon when you post tweets like gay, 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 gay. Which is completely based off of absolutely nothing. It's not called that. And there's very little actually about specifically gayness in the bill, to my understanding. It's mostly about, hey, don't talk to these kids about sexuality yet. And frankly, the bill, if you're cutting it off at grade 3, I think it's a little bit early. I think it's a little bit early to even, like, these people aren't asking enough, I would say. I would say maybe go, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years further into public education, and we don't need to talk about it that whole time, probably. Unless, I mean, I don't have a problem with, like, if a teenager's like friends with a teacher or something, and they like open up to the teacher, and it's not like in a groomy way, but like a friend way of like, hey, my parents don't understand me. I don't have an issue. Like, I think that most humans are just real people, and they're not bad. They're just working for a shitty system, like the Nazis. But I don't think most teachers are bad. I think that there are a lot of teachers who probably, I mean, they have to deal with these kids on a regular basis in like real life. So I empathize with some teachers who, if they're asked a question to the kids, the teacher, the response, generally, if it's something that's of that nature, I would probably say the teacher should recommend that they ask their parents or talk to their parents. If the teacher says, or if the kid says, I can't talk to my parents because my parents don't understand, then maybe say, okay, refer them to like the school therapist or something, or maybe give like a little bit of feedback. But I mean, these teachers aren't like their ongoing mentors. They know them for 1 year, typically 1 year that they're involved in this kid's life. And I know a lot of people that I've known for many, many years, and this type of stuff doesn't come up, let alone a teacher knowing a kid at the age of 5 for 1 year. They're like, this is the most important thing that has to be talked about. All right. I think I've beat that into the ground, but it's gay. It's all gay. But you can't say it. Can't say gay or something. All right. So speaking of gay, it was Ash Wednesday last week, and if you're not familiar with Ash Wednesday, it's like a religious, Christian-y, Catholic-y, whatever thing where you're supposed to be sad and mourn for, you're supposed to humble yourself and stuff, But this happened this time. This happened. This time, instead of Ash Wednesday, we've got Gay Ash Wednesday. We've got Glitter Ash Wednesday. And this is, it's just, here we go.
2 metro churches having special Ash Wednesday services for members of the LGBTQ community. They call it Glitter Ash Wednesday, a way to make people feel more welcome in the church. Leslie Aguilar is live at St. Mark of Hope and Peace on Truce. Leslie, what's this all about?
Gina, like you said, it really is just all about making sure that LGBTQ people feel welcome in the church. Ash Wednesday is, of course, a day of repentance before Lent, leading up to Easter. And the Lutheran pastors heading this Glitter Ash Wednesday event say the church needs to repent for how they've treated LGBTQ people in the past.
She can't even say it. And you'll notice several people in this, like almost every time they say LGBTQ, they have a hard time even saying it. And I gotta wonder what the reporters think, because none of these reporters are giving like their opinions, and I don't think necessarily they should. That's not their place. They should just be reporting on this, and that's what they're doing. So nothing against them, but they they can't even say it. They trip over it every single time. But Ash Wednesday is supposed to be a day of remembrance and humility and repentance for for your sins and stuff. And I could have, as a person who identifies as closest to Christianity, I'm a Christian, right? I believe in a God, creator, Yeshua. Some call him Jesus and stuff. I think that there is a debate to be had on whether or not gayness is a sin. I see a lot of conservatives talking about this whole Gay Ash Wednesday thing, or I like saying Gay Ash Wednesday more than Glitter Ash Wednesday because it's kind of offensive to both of them. But I can see people, having issue with this. The obvious thing that people are going to go to is, it's glorifying sin. Whatever. Like, I'm not a fan of glorifying sin. I'm just not 100% convinced homosexuality is that, or that God cares about it nearly as much as we do. That's a complete conversation for another time. So I'm not saying that, whatever. It's mostly ironic because it's supposed to be a time of humility, and they're making it into a time of pride. Like the exact opposite. Like, I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're trans. I don't care if you're, straight or whatever term you want to use. I don't care. But if you're talking about a religious ceremony that is about humbling yourself, and you're making it about yourself and your pride and your proudness to be somebody who likes people of the same gender, it just seems a little off color, a little off base for what Ash Wednesday is typically known for. Anyway, we'll continue on with the LGBT movement here.
And say the church needs to repent for how they've treated LGBTQ people in the past and let them know that they're welcome. This comes after that controversial vote last.
I would, to an extent, I would agree. I think a lot of Christians do need to repent for how they've treated the LGBTQ, AIP, whatever community. Because there's a lot of people that have been really shitty to some people that they disagree with. And you can disagree with the lifestyle and also not be an asshole about it, right? I think saying something like, I think that you are going to go to hell, like that's my religion. I'm not saying this, but if somebody said, it's my religion that if you continue in this lifestyle, then this is going to happen to you, that is not necessarily being a shitty person. That's being a good person. That's being a nice person from their perspective. I know it sounds crass and it sounds bad, but if they genuinely believe that you are going to die and burn forever and ever in a lake of fire if you have if you are gay, and they don't tell you, isn't that worse? I don't know. Like, it's the dilemma of being a dick by society standards or being a dick by your spiritual belief standards. And it's a tough one. It's a tough one. But I feel like Jesus talked a lot more about love than butt sex. That could just be me.
Last week by the United Methodist Church to condemn gay marriage and not allow LGBTQ people to be ordained.
She did it again. She cannot handle this.
People to be Methodist Church to condemn gay marriage and not allow LGBTQ people to be ordained. This event was planned before the United Methodist Church decision, but both pastors believe
it's almost like she knows that she's going to get shit for this article. One way or another, the story, she's going to be the one that takes heat, or the company is going to take heat. There's going to be some Christians that can't handle this, and they're going to write to the news anchor and pretend like it's their fault. And there's going to be the LGBTQ people who are like, well, she's stuttering every time she says our name, and then she kind of loses her train of thought. I feel bad for this lady.
But both pastors believe it's good timing following that, just to show that LGBTQ people are celebrated in many Protestant.
Was that 3? Was that 3, or did I go back too far? I think that's 3 for her.
Congregations. The Lutheran Church of America voted in their General Assembly 10 years ago to let each individual congregation decide their own stance on LGBTQ people in clergy.
So they just said, fuck it, I don't care, you guys figure it out. And that is the way to do it. If there's a church organization that's like, we don't believe this, they should stand by that and say, we don't believe this. Absolutely they should. Or they should change it. I don't know. It's a little weak for an organization to say, each one of you churches that are a part of our same organization can believe completely different things from each other on certain topics. That seems a little strange, but I think the organizational church thing is kind of overdone anyway, so I'm not that butthurt about it. It's interesting because it's not interesting. I need a thesaurus. Somebody give me a word for interesting that I can replace it with, because I say it too much. It's a thing that I do think that it is up to each person individually to figure out how they handle this thing. What's up, Craig? Craig's in the chat. It's up to Craig. Did you hear about Gay Ash Wednesday? Ash Wednesday is gay now. I think it should be kind of up to each church denomination, but it's up to the organization, I suppose, how they handle it. And it sounds like this one is just like, hey, we're going hands off. Because for them, you know that there's all sorts of other tenets of faith and stuff in these churches, and they're just like, hey, on this one, there's an awful lot of outrage on it, so you guys take full credit and take the heat on whichever way you decide to go with this, because us as an organization, we're done. We're not doing this. And that seems to be what this is. And there's something about having Ash Wednesday incorporate just one group of people that, like, you went from gay people are oppressed because of the church or something, to now gay people are not just accepted, they are celebrated for their gayness. And it's going to be 50% of the Ash Wednesday theme. It's going to be part, humility and repentance and things like that. Well, then about, 50, maybe 51%. We'll give them the majority share. 51% is going to be super gay. It's not just gay, proud of being gay. Pride. Humility pride. We're proud of our humility. Or our gayness. Craig says, that's definitely interesting. Shut up, Craig. Craig says, the Methodist Church is going through a split because of gayness. Yes, it is. And I think we're talking about the Lutheran Church, but hey, probably all of them. They're probably all dealing with this right now, and there's probably some churches that are taking a hard stance against this movement, and they're going to be like, they're not going to do well in the media. And then there's the other side, like sounds like the Lutherans are doing, which is just, hey, don't care, just half of us will fully embrace this, and the other half will condemn it, and that's not confusing or problematic at all.
Salem Lutheran Church in Lenexa and St. Mark Hope and Peace Lutheran.
In fairness, this lady has trouble saying any words, but specifically LGBTQ, she seems to have big problems
Church
with.
Here in Kansas City both allow it. Pastor Dave Wetter says that God made LGBTQ people who they are for a reason, and they should be welcomed, affirmed, and celebrated.
Unfortunately,
I agree that they should be welcomed and affirmed, and their life should be celebrated, and we can have a conversation about the other stuff. Like everybody else going, like I've always had an issue with the church's stance on gayness. Not always. I was a child once, but as an adult, I have an issue with the church's typical stance or the traditional stance on gayness, just because they make it out to be this sin that is more bad than all the other sins. Like you talk about, like how many pastors are fat? And how many pastors have preached against homosexuality, and then we find out 10 years later that they were like banging altar boys or hiring male prostitutes and stuff. There's lots and lots of these these big name pastors that have issue with it, and I don't know, like I don't really care, and I think that I've said enough because I lost my train of thought.
LGBTQ community has
he can't do it either.
And celebrated.
Unfortunately, the LGBTQ community has heard differently in many times over and over.
LBGT?
The old statement of choose a side, and we don't believe in that. We believe God created us as we are. And so I think that is the message we would want to offer, that we are all God's children.
I agree. I concur with that. And also, again, I don't really care. It's not my cross to bear. It's not my hill to die on whether or not gayness is a sin. Whatever. You deal with your sin between you and God, or you deal with your lifestyle in every way between you and God. I think that's a personal thing. Just like I think me eating gummy worms for breakfast this morning is, that could be considered sinful. That's not the most healthy lifestyle. That's kind of gluttonous, kind of slothful. I sit around a lot. 99% of Americans are arrogant, prideful douchebags who, sit around eating Cheetos, and maybe that's not fair. Maybe that's unpatriotic. I don't care. Whatever. Hey, my mom's here just in time to talk about the gay stuff. Anyway, moving on. Speaking of Ash Wednesday, the Honorable President Joseph Robinette Biden had this to say about Ash Wednesday when asked by some Catholics his thoughts on abortion.
And last night you said you support Roe v. Wade as a Catholic, and I didn't support abortion as a Catholic. Church teaching.
I tell you what, I don't want to get in a debate with you on theology, but well, anyway.
I don't want to get in a debate with you on theology. What that means, what the translator would be saying there is, I'm not going to answer your question. He wasn't asking you to get into a debate on theology. He was asking you, hey, the Catholic Church seems to not be... I don't even know what the Catholic Church's stance currently is on abortion, because they've been like lightening up on it, frankly, and I'm not a fan of either the Catholic Church or abortion. But yeah, he's like, I'm not going to answer your question just because I don't feel like it. And then Jill comes over.
I'm not going to make a judgment for other people.
In fairness, I don't disagree with him. But I also don't think that he's saying anything intentionally. I feel like he just didn't have anything to say. But I don't disagree with him. I think that I don't know what the answer for abortion is. I mostly think it's get the government out of it and let's innovate and find new ways to, have birth control. I think that's probably the way to go. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily disagree with him on this stance because he's saying it's not for me to decide. And really, I think if anybody has the right to decide in whether or not a woman should be allowed to terminate the life of her birth or not, I think the president of the United States is probably the least qualified person to do that. Right? Like, that's basically my stance. I don't like it. And maybe there should be some consequence for taking the life of an unborn child. And I personally think that there should probably be some sort of consequence for that. I don't know what that is or what that looks like, but what I do know and what I can say with a fair amount of certainty is that Joe Biden is not the most qualified person to make that call. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, speaking of old men who are dying, so there's a lot of propaganda still going around, and that's pretty much all we've been talking about on the show for the last couple of weeks because it's just endless amounts of wartime propaganda on both sides, and from our media, from their media, from Ukraine's media, from Russia's media, everybody is putting out propaganda. And apparently, some news came in this week that Putin is dying. Or is he? I don't know. Is he? Could he be? But they're asking, is Putin dying? Is he mentally ill? The emerging field of Putinology. Putinology. I'm sure who's going to school for Putinology? I don't know, but it probably won't be a very long career for them. But people are trying to convince us that Putin is dying, he's mentally ill, or he's physically ill. They're saying he shows signs of Parkinson's, maybe dementia, all sorts of fun problems. He keeps doing these interviews from, like, at the end of this long-ass table that's like 12 feet long. I don't know what that has to do with anything other than maybe they don't want the cameras to be close to him to show that he's shaking or something, but the cameras still seem to be getting pretty close-up shots. Maybe I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt here, whatever. But Kremlinology, or Kremlinology, is one of those terms that dates a person who uses it. It was the practice in the United States and Western Europe of distilling the statements, policies, and place intrigue at Moscow's Kremlin, the seat of power of the Soviet Union, into practical blah, 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 blah. Who cares? Today, with political control so heavily concentrated in a single person inside the Kremlin, perhaps the equivalent is Putinology, and we're seeing it in abundance among analysts, and yes, our literate. Why didn't we have a Trumpology for people who, like, just call it people who are obsessed with propaganda for or against a certain politician? That's all that is. Where you're just making up things and then saying them and then labeling yourself a Putinologist so that I am a Putinologist. I should put that in my bio on Twitter because I don't think there's a certificate. Is there an online course you can take or, a diploma you can get certifying you for expert in Putinology? I don't know. Is it the practice of continuing on? Is this practice of divining information? Is that right? Divining information from Putin's odd behavior from the Logorrhea spilled on subordinates at the end of menacingly long conference tables or in bunker-like solid. It doesn't have to be a fucking, like, sonnet. Can you just tell me what's happening here? Can you stop flowering everything up? In a desperate attempt to answer the question, what's next, that we call Putinology to the editor, all these experts who can't even... Good Lord. So this is really long for an opinion piece. To the whatever. God. Okay. Putin stuck his foot in it, and the entire world can see that. Is he looking for an exit ramp? Probably not. Times are desperate, and when they seek blah, 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 Julius Caesar, stuff, whatever. Anyway, who cares? Point being, the media is trying to say that Vladimir Putin is mentally or physically unfit to be president, which is just the biggest, most beautiful hypocrisy I've ever heard coming out of the United States. When Joe Biden is currently the one that's poking Putin as the bear, and they're like, well, Putin is weak. Putin is like mentally unfit. He's tripping upstairs. He's stammering over his words. He's nodding off during meetings. Sometimes he forgets where he is. Wait, that's not Putin. That's Joe Biden. Now, I don't know what evidence they have of this. I've heard that it's mostly because he looks sad and a little bit puffy, is what they said. Sad and puffy. He doesn't smile as much lately. Could that possibly be because he knows that we're in an imminent war? Like he's going to war with Ukraine. Did you think he'd be laughing his ass off? Do you think he'd be happy and celebrating? And even if he was, do you think that would be the appearance that he puts out to the world? Like he's just like, ha ha ha, I'm this evil villain. Or maybe he doesn't like the fact that he's doing that he has to do what he's doing for whatever reason he's doing it, be it to, gain back his stance, push back NATO, or to get all the Nazis out of Ukraine. Whatever his reason, do you think that he's just like happy or having fun? If he was, I would be questioning his mental stability even more. But because he's not very happy about it, he's probably unfit to lead. Unlike Joe Biden, who is very, very, very strong, as we all know. He is just a god among men. And on that note, I do have something here, if I can find it. Let's see. Where is it? That's not it. That's not it. Did I get rid of it? If I got rid of it, then this is a big waste of time for nothing. Here we go. I think this is it. Yes. This brings us to, now that we know about Putin. Well, actually, before we get to that, now that we know about Putin and possibly having mental issues, what do you think? Let me know in the comments or wherever you're listening to this. Leave me a review on iTunes, by the way, because nobody's been doing that, and I've got like one freaking bad review that's just hanging out at the top just for funsies. It's been there for a good while. So go leave me a review and let me know that you did, and maybe I'll read it on air. So maybe you have something to promote. There's a free thing that you could do. Go say nice podcast or something. Leave a 5-star comment or a 5-star review, and then say, hey, check out my podcast or my business or whatever at blank, and I'll give you a free shout out, free plug for doing that. But so they're saying that Putin is mentally unfit or physically unfit, and so if that is true, then it's problematic. We're not doing so. And I mentioned this, I think, last week or the week before the media was even talking about it. I was like, what if one of the world leaders, any of them, what if we get a world leader who has nuclear power and is suicidal? That, like, why does anybody have the authority to do? And I know that this is like a little bit hyperbolic because that's the way they present it to us on the surface, that one person makes the call, presses the big red button, and then the whole world blows up, or nukes just shoot off straight at Russia, whatever. Of course, that's not real, but one person does have the ability to make the call, allegedly. I'm sure he has handlers. I'm sure they all have handlers to some degree that help them make that decision or not make that decision. But what if one of them is just like so suicidal that he just is like, screw it all? And if like Putin doesn't have to be suicidal even. He could just be like, well, I'm going out if any of this is true, which I don't personally believe that it is. I think it's all, like they said the same thing about Donald Trump, and they're not saying about Joe Biden for some reason, which is telling. But assuming that it's true, what if Putin's just like, I've got nothing left to lose? Does he have kids? I don't even know. But he's got nothing, let's say he has nothing left to lose, and he's like, let's just make a legacy. Let's just go balls to the wall and make this happen. I don't know if that's the case. I doubt it is. I think more likely than anything, this is just another smear thing. This is an opinion. This is, hey, he seems sad. He seems puffy. So he's probably dying. But thankfully, not everybody is a senile old quack like Putin, which brings us to our next segment.
And Corn Pop was a
big shot. Nazi fags.
You ain't black.
What a stupid son of a bitch.
Yes, this is remembering Biden, because we all know that Biden has a hard enough time remembering himself, and the media doesn't like to talk about what we should be remembering about Biden. So for the history books, kids from the future, this is what Biden's been up to lately, and this is how the history books will be written. So I'm going to read you the history books of the future, and then I'm going to give my comments on it. This is from theatlantic.com, so you know it's legit. Who's texting me? Oh, I've got a show in a half hour, by the way, and nap time is up in here in the chat. So hey, I'm gonna wrap it up here in a second. Don't worry. Yeah, I'm gonna be on his show. Go check it out. Yeah, at this that. And be on the lookout because I imagine that episode's coming out later this week. But from theatlantic.com, we give you the history books of the future. They say Biden answered the 3 a.m. call. It's hard to imagine that any of his rivals for the last election could have matched the president's performance in this crisis. By Franklin Fuller. That was the title and subtitle, which is a paragraph. So about the author, who cares? His name is Franklin Fuller. When Hillary Clinton sought to sow doubts about Barack Obama, her rival for the 2008 Democratic presidential nomination, she ran an attack ad tarnishing him as dangerously inexperienced. As the screen shows images from a suburban house, a husky-voiced narrator intones, "It's 3 a.m. and your children are safe asleep, but there's a phone in the White House, and it's ringing. Oh, it's ringing." There's clearly been a terrible international incident. The narrator asks, "Who do you want answering the phone?" Definitely not Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama, for that matter. And for the love of God, 100% not Joe Biden. But I don't know how much time we need to spend on this puff piece, but it's basically just going on about how calmly and rationally Joe Biden has been through all of this. He was so calm and rational right after we sent troops into Ukraine to poke the bear. He went on a vacation down to Delaware. So he's taking it really well. As the Russian invasion of Ukraine has unfolded, the narrator's question has rattled around in my head. The invasion is a moral test because Putin has committed atrocities that demand the strongest possible response. The strongest possible response, which means blow up the world. Right? That would be the strongest possible response. I mean, you could probably blow up the moon while you're at it with all the nukes we have. You could probably blow up any of these local planets if those are even real, if you're into that sort of thing. But yeah, the strongest possible response is just complete and utter annihilation, I would imagine. Unless they're lying about the nukes and our ability to use them, which I also think is a possibility. But Putin committed atrocities that demand the strongest possible response. Putin invading Ukraine, not like wiping them out off the map, just invading. That's enough to blow up the world, or that's enough to morally justify blowing up the world. And it is a strategic test because the strongest possible response could very plausibly escalate into a nuclear conflict. Yes. Joe Biden hasn't received the full credit he deserves. Of course not. No. Nobody's giving Joe Biden the credit he deserves. His rates are plummeting. They're in the toilet because no reason. No, just because nobody knows how heroic this guy is. Joe Biden hasn't received the full credit he deserves for his statecraft during this crisis because he has pursued a policy of self-effacement rather than touting his accomplishments in mobilizing a unified global response to the invasion. He has portrayed the stringent sanctions as the triumph of an alliance by carefully limiting his own public role in letting France's Emmanuel Macron and Germany's Olaf Scholz take turns as the lead faces of NATO. It's because Joe Biden doesn't work. He doesn't work. He doesn't function. Is it just me, or is he just like letting other people speak for him because he can't fucking talk? And his people know that. That's why they kept him in a bunker for his entire campaign. So they're praising him for not talking. They're spinning his lack of statements, his lack of stance on this. They're spinning that into it's because he's so gosh darn brave. He's just biting his tongue. He's just so wise to bite his tongue and stay silent while he sends U.S. forces into Ukraine and potentially Russia to start World War III. Thank you, Honorable President Biden, for nothing. And I mean that in the most sincere way possible. As The Atlantic points out, Franklin Fuller points out, Joe Biden is noble for doing nothing right now and saying nothing and being nothing. So thank you for everything you've done, and please continue to do nothing. In fact, if you could do even less nothing, or more nothing. I'm not sure. If you could do something different than the nothing that you're doing right now, I don't care how brave or wise or noble it seems, but just do actual nothing instead of doing shitty things and then not talking about it. That's not nothing. That's actually something without without bragging about your bad ideas. All right, this has been Remembering Biden. Thank you.
And Corn Pop was a
Bigger big shot. Nazi fags.
You ain't black.
You're a stupid son of a bitch.
In other news, some other things are going on. There's another trend that I saw going around Twitter that I thought was worth mentioning. Good Lord, we're already pushing 2 hours. This was supposed to be a quick episode. I suppose I could have done an after party. Whatever. You're getting it anyway. But I guess we should wrap it up on this, and I've got like 2 more things. But how to verify information involving the war. This is Twitter just in a mass trend, like their own stuff put out that they promote. It's knowing the difference between disinformation and misinformation is very important in today's day and age, and I agree. And the problem is that it's all disinformation, or it's all disinformation. So disinformation is where you're intentionally misleading somebody. Misinformation is when you're like me, just stupid and saying things that come to your brain, and sometimes they're wrong. It's worse when you're stupid and you say the things, then you don't go back and actually correct them, which is what I tried to do. Like I said that we weren't probably going to war with Russia. I don't even know if I took that much of a stance on it, or that Russia wasn't going to invade Ukraine, and they did. Whatever. I was wrong. Like, it seemed like it didn't make any sense, and that's why I still don't trust that things are the way they say they are. Also, that with the mountain of propaganda that they've been putting out. But disinformation, when people intentionally create false or misleading information to make money, have political influence, or to maliciously cause trouble or harm. Why do people share disinformation? Thank you for letting me know. But they do it because of money, political gain, to cause confusion, to sow mistrust. Yes, CNN's playbook right there in one sentence. Good job. Actually, also Fox News and Newsmax and every other one of these freaking places that just peddle the same talk points, but with different spins on it. Misinformation. When people share disinformation, but they don't realize it's false or misleading. Why do people share misinformation? Out of fear and wanting to protect people they care about or... Wait, what? Why do people share misinformation? So they're saying that, when people share disinformation, but they don't realize it's false or misleading, often because they're trying to help or want to feel part of a community. So sharing disinformation and not realizing it, or just sharing wrong information. Just because you're sharing something that's wrong doesn't mean that the person who created the wrong thing had malicious intent. But it says out of fear and wanting to protect people they care about, or to connect with others who are sharing similar information. Or they think it's real and it's not real. Like, it's as simple as they're just wrong. That is perfectly fine to do. And it'd be great if the people who are really gung-ho about warning us about disinformation and misinformation would take a line from their own recommendations. How to verify information involving the war in Ukraine according to fact-checkers and experts. Yes, fact-checkers and experts have proven to be so trustworthy and reliable over the last couple of years that they are the ones that I'm going to go to tell me that I should think certain ways in Ukraine. And during major breaking news events like the current war in Ukraine, social media users are bombarded with large amounts of mis- and disinformation, fact-checkers report. No shit. Here are some tips on how to prevent the spread of misinformation during breaking news events, according to experts. Large amounts of misinformation and disinformation has circulated on social media. Yes, we know. Trustworthy information is as important as ever. Yes, I agree. So here are top tips. First and foremost, be wary of the difference between misinformation and disinformation. Yeah, we did that. First and foremost is that amid the alarming images of... Okay, this is from PBS News. I guess we need to go... Is there a thread? Did they share more? Or just hey, you need to know what this is? Second, visual misinformation gains a lot of attention. We've seen time and time again old photos and videos recirculated during times of crisis, which can cause more chaos and confusion. Yup, that's the same thing. That's misinformation and disinformation. Yep, it's propaganda. Okay. Out of context. Yes, that was probably fake. The the planes and ghost thing. You can run reverse image searches on a few different search engines. We recommend using the browser extension RevEye, which puts all these searches just one click away. Now that is interesting, and I did not know that, and I'm actually going to save that. So I'm here to chastise you, but first I'm going to take a little bit of your advice because that is that is a good idea. Going deeper, you can run checks on all of your 5 pillars of visual verification. The more you can dig up about each pillar, the stronger your verification will be. Okay, yes, the more information you have about an image, the more you'll be able to determine if it has information. Great. Verifying accounts, yes. Verifying things. So checking your sources. If you decide to share falsified visuals as part of a debunk, make sure to use an overlay to prevent the image from being recirculated out of context. This can be as simple as adding a watermark over the image, labeling it unverified or out of context. Hey, that's decent information, actually. That's a good way to get around their systems. They're kind of showing their hand a little bit, which I appreciate. Archiving the content you come across is important for historical and legal purposes. Yes. I know. I don't do it, though. All right, this is boring. It's just fun and interesting. It's fascinating. It's incredible, whatever word you want to use. It's something. It's really something that Twitter is... The ones who are sharing things like that... what was that trend earlier? Like, even just the Don't Say Gay bill. Like, that's all over. It's all over. And talking about the feds and stuff on January 6th and stuff like that. Like, they've talked about the World Economic Forum. They have it trending up real big. Like, hey, don't believe the conspiracies. The World Economic Forum is great. The Great Reset's great. Don't believe the conspiracy theories. All this stuff in the name of just truth and knowledge. But methinks thus doth protect? Yes, thus doth protect too much. But anyway, we're going to end on Jen Psaki. Psaki, Joe Biden's mouthpiece, the person who I mean, you gotta at least give her props. You gotta hand it to her. She has the hardest job in the entire freaking world right now. She has to go out there and explain whatever the hell comes out of Joe Biden's mouth at any given point. It's up to her to translate it, to explain it, and to make it sound like something a normal, rational human would say. So we're gonna end on this. Jen Psaki, this is from HuffPost.com, so you know it's legit. Jen Psaki schools Fox News' Peter Doocy with facts. Quote, I know that can be inconvenient. So you notice how they don't even say what it is that they're talking about? Jen Psaki schools Peter Doocy with facts. Quote, I know that can be inconvenient. Like in the headline, it doesn't even reference what the topic of discussion is, because I don't know. I feel like they probably don't want people to dig into this that much because they'll find inconvenient truths of their own. But the reporter tries to blame rising gas prices on the Biden administration rather than Russian President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Oh boy, let's get into this. If you haven't noticed, gas prices are going up, and they're not stopping anytime soon. They've actually been going up for a while, for months, maybe even a year. They've been going up, but it's Putin's fault. Let's hear about it.
Thank you, Jen. It sounds like you guys are blaming Putin for the increase in gas prices recently, but weren't gas prices going up anyway because of post-pandemic supply chain issues?
Well, I think there's no question that as we have seen...
Yes. Nap time, dude. Chris says, Biden versus Putin IQ test. That or mud wrestling or jello wrestling. No drugs allowed. Or, yes, drugs. Both get hopped up on the craziest steroids and throw them into a mud wrestling ring together, and that will determine who gets Ukraine. I know we're not really fighting over who gets Ukraine, but just cuz. But IQ test for sure would be great, and I have a feeling I know who would win in that matchup. But IQ tests are racist, so it doesn't really matter.
Chain issues?
Well, I think there's no question that as we have seen, and outside analysts have conveyed this as well, the increase in the anticipated continued increase, which was, I think, what some of your colleagues were asking about.
The increase in the continued anticipated increase.
The increase in the anticipated continued increase, which...
The increase in the anticipated continued increase. of gas prices.
As I think what some of your colleagues were asking about, that is a direct result of the invasion of Ukraine, and also there was an anticipation of that.
Yes, Craig, gas prices are up. I think it's like 420, 420. I think it's like 420, 440, somewhere, something like that around here. But I've heard in like California and stuff, it's up to like $7, $8 per gallon. It's up a slight amount. And I'm sure you're probably being sarcastic, but hey, don't care.
Was factored in as gas prices have gone up.
So you say that you're going to do everything that you can to reduce the impact that high gas prices have on Americans. We're asking other countries to think about maybe pumping more oil. Why not just do it here?
Well, to be very clear, federal policies are not limited.
Do you remember when I said that they're going to blame Russia for gas prices? It was like right when we were getting into it. You can go back, check the tape. It's there somewhere. I said, I think it was during the State of the Union even, I said, watch them try and blame Putin and Russia for high gas prices. Well, Biden is putting sanctions on Putin and not allowing them to, sell us gas. And I understand that there's like, if we were like fighting Russia and also funding them by giving them money for oil, that would be a conflict of interest, sure. But how about we just don't instead and see if that helps? Apparently, gas prices in Russia are very low. I wonder if you can get the Skylink Wi-Fi, Elon's Skylink or whatever it's called, Skynet Wi-Fi from Ukraine. I wonder if some people can get that in Russia as well, because Russia sounds like they're doing okay. They've got a bunch of white Christian. No, wait, that was Ukraine that she said was white Christian. They've got great internet, probably, if they're stealing it from their neighbors, like most of us do, and they've got. What was I even just saying? They've got good things. Ukraine has good guns. Russia has something. What did I just... Holy shit. Okay. They've got gas. Cheap gas. That's what it is. So somewhere there on the border, you can probably... If you play your cards just right and, camp out in the middle of a war zone, you could probably get free guns, great Wi-Fi, and cheap gas. So, hey. War's not all bad, right?
Why not just do it here?
Well, to be very clear, federal policies are not limiting the supplies of oil and gas. Let me finish.
No, just pipelines that you shut down.
Executive order his
Peter,
first week that halted new oil and gas.
Let me give you the facts here, and I know that can be inconvenient, but I think they're important in this moment. To the contrary.
That was the line that they felt like putting in the headline here. I know that can be convenient. Or be inconvenient. Like, that's this major slam. She's just going to take him to school now. And in fairness, I don't care at all about Peter Ducey. I don't know anything about the dude. He's probably a douchebag. But he's not wrong so far.
Can be inconvenient, but I think they're important in this moment. To the contrary, we have been clear that in the short-term supply must keep up with the demand. We are
yes, Magoo. She went to the Kamala School of saying nothing.
Secure, clean energy future. We are one of the largest producers with a strong domestic.
In fairness, she doesn't have a lot to work with. Like, she doesn't really have a choice but to say nothing because she has nothing to work with.
Oil and gas industry.
Also,
we have actually
Chris, if you're still in here, Chris from Nap Time, if I'm a little late, I apologize, but we got to get through this.
Produced more oil. It is at record numbers, and we will continue to produce more oil. There are 9,000 approved drilling permits that are not being used. So the suggestion that we are not allowing companies to drill is inaccurate. The suggestion that is what is hindering or preventing gas prices to come down is inaccurate.
Would President Biden rescind his executive order that halts new oil and natural gas leases on public lands?
Well, 90% of them happen on private lands, as I'm sure you know, and there are 9,000 unused approved drilling permits. So I would suggest you ask the oil companies why they're not using those if there's a desire to drill more.
Would President Biden ever undo...
I don't know. She's saying there's 9,000 permits that aren't being used, so there's companies that have permits to drill that just aren't drilling. There's something there that that we're leaving out here. I don't know what it is exactly or what the details are on that, but clearly there's something there. Like, I don't know. But if we're shutting down pipelines and ending fracking and stuff, like I don't love any of these things. I don't love fossil fuels. I'm not like I don't know. I don't care. I don't think it's killing Mother Nature like we think, because it comes from Mother Nature and stuff. I'm not a climate change person, but I also don't love that we only thrive off of this crude oil when there have been there are ways of rigging your car up to run off of water. There were cars initially that were made that ran off of alcohol, but rumor has it they lobbied for making that illegal because people were stealing their own alcohol and not paying the gas companies. So I feel like there's ways around this dilemma that have nothing to do with whether or not we are bombing Ukraine or bombing Russia or whatever we're doing over there. If we had more free markets, we would have more ingenuity, and this would be a non-issue. But instead, we've got people like Pete Buttigieg coming out saying, hey, if the gas prices go up, it's fine. Just spend $40,000 on a new Tesla or something. That's a solution. Definitely, that solution definitely doesn't come from a 1% elitist asshole. Anyway.
His executive order that stopped the construction of the Keystone XL pipeline.
Are you suggesting that would solve the gas prices issue?
Well, do you think that would maybe affect prices?
It couldn't hurt, I would imagine.
Faster than getting the whole country off of fossil fuels?
I actually don't think it would. The Keystone...
She doesn't think that it's more realistic to think that the Keystone pipeline resuming, like, she doesn't think that would help more than this pie-in-the-sky idea of, hey, we're all going to switch to Teslas, or we're all going to switch to electronic cars. And even if we do switch to electronic cars, are we switching all the buses? Are we switching all the boats? Are we switching all the planes? Are we switching... And is everybody else going to switch as well? Or is China going to switch? If not, then we're probably not doing... We're not accomplishing anything. Are we going only electronic lawnmowers? Because that's where I draw the damn line. Have you ever used an electronic lawnmower? I doubt it goes great, but yeah, let the ingenuity happen, and we'll probably solve this issue to where you can keep bombing Russia or fighting Russia or doing whatever you're doing to Russia, sanctioning Russia, and not trading with Russia, and we would probably be fine. But that is not really the issue here. The issue currently being discussed is whether or not it's Biden's fault or Putin's fault, and she's trying to say it's definitely Putin's fault, even though this was happening before Putin. It's because we had this crystal ball. We looked into our magical ginger crystal ball, and we said, hey, Putin is going to do something, and gas prices are going to go up. So in anticipation, we started raising the gas prices just for the hell of it, because we were just trying to get you guys in the mood, for war.
It was not an oil field. It's a pipeline. Yeah. Also, the oil is continuing to flow in just through other means. So it actually would have nothing to do with the current supply imbalance.
So gas prices are approaching an all-time high per gallon. How high would they have to get before President Biden would say, I'm going to set aside my ambitious climate goals and just increase domestic oil production, get the producers to drill more here, and we can address the fossil fuel future later?
Well, again, Peter, the U.S. produced more oil this past year than in President Trump's first year. Next year, according to the Department of Energy...
And then, yes, we produced more oil, and then we stopped taking it, or stopped purchasing it from Russia because of who? Is that because of Trump, too? I thought Trump was... She's trying to blame Trump for this and trying to blame Putin for this. We have more here, but it's still not nearly as much as it was. Otherwise, prices want to be doubling, tripling, and stuff.
We will produce more oil than ever before. Those are the facts in terms of oil production. And again, right now there are 9,000 unused approved permits to drill onshore. So I think you're misidentifying what the actual issue is. But if we're looking to the future and what we can do to prevent this from being a challenge in future crises, the best thing we can do is reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and foreign oil, because that will help us have a reliable source of energy. So that we're not worried
is the military going to stop using it? The military going to stop using oil? Really?
Gas prices going up.
How about we start there? Okay? I'll get behind your let's go green and everybody has to spend a bunch of money on cars thing. Let's start with the military. How's that work out for you? How's that going to go when you're running electric tanks? Is that going to work? You first. That's all I'm saying. When all of you, and you guys are the only ones who have the money to do this, all you elitist douchebags, you're the ones who have the money to do this. You first. All of your things, switch it. You lead the way and show us how great of a life it is. And then, the market will explode because we'll see how great these people are doing. We'll be like, I want a piece of that. I want to go get a Tesla. I'm going to save up all my life's wages and go buy me a Tesla so that I can be just as cool as you and save the earth. But even if not everybody else does it, even if they don't follow your lead on this, just like everything else, maybe, just maybe, if you switch the military over to running green electric vehicles, then that will do something. It'll do enough. It'll be a start. And then we'll have more oil here, and we'll be able to drive and live a little bit more comfortably. Maybe if somebody needs to make sacrifices and tighten up their belts and their bootstraps or whatever, maybe it's you, people who are driving up the cost of gas and not taking responsibility for it. Anyway, there's that. That's that. That's enough. Speaking of misinformation and disinformation, I don't know which one that is, but it's definitely disinformation. And we'll end with this just so we have a little bit of a palate cleanser here. Here's some of the most beautiful disinformation, misinformation, whatever you want to call it, information I've ever witnessed. Throwbacks to last week.
It's not clear what may have been taken, and no arrests have been made.
A 71-year-old man is accused of inappropriately touching a 12-year-old girl at the Walmart in West Mifflin Sunday afternoon. According to court...
Yep, there's that. So, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being here for this. I'm supposed to be on another show in 3 minutes, so I got to roll. But thank you guys for being here. This has been fun. I'm glad it worked. I'm glad the internet worked out. There were a couple glitches, it seems like, but nothing too bad. Thank you for hanging and enjoying the world with me. Like I said, we're not doing an after party tonight. We will maybe I'll do one later this week, or maybe we'll give you some extra next week. But I gave you 2 hours here and an hour on Monday. I'd say that's plenty enough for 1 week. But if you split it up, if you prioritize your life and you listen to an hour a day, you'll get most of the way through the week listening to my annoying voice. You can also go probably check out Nap Time and be on the lookout for that episode that's probably coming out this week or next week or sometime soon. I'll post that when it goes out, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be a chill hangout time over there. Go check him out, and I'll be there right after I get done here. And go join the Downers Club, and you'll get all the other after parties. If you're not in the Downers Club, then you have nothing to complain about not having the bonus, because you got a bunch of extra content this week anyway. And if you go join the Downers Club, you'll get all of our backlog, which is more than you will be able to listen to before next week. So thank you guys for being here. Really not a lot of news in the news. It's mostly a lot of the same thing over and over again. They're not really sure where they're going with this, I don't think. They're just pushing the propaganda and seeing how well it sticks. Don't buy it. Do your research. Take Twitter's recommendation just a little bit and do some digging, do some research to make sure what you're sharing is accurate. I know I'm guilty of not doing that, but hey, we're having fun here. Patreon.com/The System's Down. Go join the Downers Club, join the family, join the fun. Get over there, and I will see you guys next week, if not sooner. Until then, be safe, have fun, question everything, stay uncomfortable, and be bad. And I'll talk to you then. Peace out. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe on your way out and help us change the world one uncomfortable conversation at a time. And if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, go join the Downers Club at patreon.com/The System's Down for bonus episodes of the show every single week. Until next time, please continue to question everything, stay uncomfortable, and I'll talk to you then. Thanks.
This has been a Goulash Media production. GoulashMedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.